Pensado's Place is brought to you by...
We're going to take a look at the man behind NRG. We've got a brand new ITL. We've got a new sponsor, lots of stuff. Let's roll it. It's Pensado's Place.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Pensado's Place. I'm particularly excited. We've got a great show for you today, as we do every week. What's up, Herbert?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Man, we look like
I was just going to say, we're bright and
the
sparkling.
pastel twins.
Oh, my God.
I was trying to celebrate the fact that Pensado's Place is now a fully green show. Drew walked to work, so he reduced his carbon footprint. Except for the beans he ate last night, it was a very little methane. But
Gotcha.
basically, reduced his footprint considerably.
Okay.
So in celebration of us being a green show now, I wore this. What about you?
I don't have an answer for that. This is hardly green.
I think that was a Halloween
Neon.
moment that got left over from October.
We do have a full show. Let's get to our normal stuff. In our homework, as usual, contact us at Facebook, Twitter, go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. You know all those stuff. We are always happy to be coming to you live from the Art Institute of California in Los Angeles.
Yes.
The beautiful HD Studio, which has been the moniker for HD Studio. I've heard the Herb Dave Studio. Then I've heard, I heard that we're not coming in high definition, that we're coming in Polaroid. Like,
You're the Polo and I'm the Roid?
That's a whole other story.
As in steroids, not
Right,
hemorrhoids.
you guys are crazy with that stuff.
That's funny.
Let's get to some of the things that we usually do. We want to say hello to our sponsors, Avid, who we love, and Vintage King, obviously, who we love. Great family, great stuff.
They've been such a big help.
Yeah, Will's planning doing some shooting there. There's going to be some real good stuff from their new facility. So got some stuff coming for you. It's clearly our DNA. We're welcoming a new sponsor, Telefunken.
Oh man, new to you, man. They've been a big. I'm just
No.
I didn't mean to be a smartass, but they're you can't have a discussion about microphones without the first thing being mentioned is Telefunken 251s.
Yeah,
Jake
exactly.
will attest to that when he gets on the show.
You know what's really cool is when they first reached out for Will and I got on the phone and they said that the mics had been mentioned so many times in Batter's Box that they had gotten some inbounds and stuff like that. So we're happy to have them on board.
Absolutely.
They're an industry standard. We're going to do some really cool things with them where you're going to get a chance to look at their mic line, their RFT and Dynamic series. We're going to shoot some exclusive content. That's going to come to you shortly, and you're going to have a chance to win some stuff. Stay tuned for that. Now let's go back to our friends at Avid really quickly. You had quite a week with them. Huh?
Well, they asked me if I would help out and describe some of the elements of Pro Tools 10 that I found new and exciting and give a demonstration of how I used them. Mm-hmm. And just had a blast with Anthony and Tony and the guys. And I forgot Mr. Kinney's first name, Tommy, I think, over at Mix. But anyway, it was a neat moment, Herb, because I use the stuff every day, you know. Mm-hmm. And for a second I was kind of stumped, like, what is new? And I realized, wow, this program is so well done that it's seamless. I've never read a Pro Tools manual, and then when they told me some of the new features, like, I know that, and then I started to show how I use the new clip gain function, and the new clip gain function is incredible, and like Tony kept saying, well, this is what you do. I go, Tony, I know how to do that. He said, well, you didn't know. I said, no, man, I know it now. It's like just a wonderful, just that in itself saves me at least 30 minutes a day.
Well, here's the good news about that. What that's going to allow you to do is focus on, there's going to be a 1-hour broadcast video of what you shot, and then there's going to be a live Q&A that all you guys can tune into that Dave's going to be doing. That's going to be around June 28th. We'll get you that information shortly. The information will live on our website and on their website, so stay tuned. We'll get that to you. Busy week.
Yeah, Herb, I'd like to mention one of our guests just came out with a brand new book that I think would be something our audience should know about. Mm-hmm. You guys remember when we had Ken Scott on? Just an incredible guest, incredible talent. Ken did the Beatles, Elton John, Bowie, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Kansas, Devo. He did all the great Supertramp records. But the reason I'm telling you about Ken's book is because it's both for fans of music. The anecdotes are incredible, and then when he goes to a technical part about a lot of these things, it's a sidebar. So us engineers, we can just read the sidebars. Just the fans have a lot of information there. So to use a cliche, it's a book for the whole family.
There you go.
Support Ken. He's a great guy, and Bobby Ozinski, thanks for hooking all that up.
I think all the good stuff's out of the way. Why don't you throw us to ITL?
Okay, this week's ITL is once again kind of ambitious. If I didn't make it, flame me, it's cool. I tried my best. But what I wanted to show you guys was how the relative ratios of different parts of the mix can create and not create different things. And so I tried to strip it down to just levels. I didn't want you to think about production and all the other elements. So this is going to be in mono, because I want you to kind of understand that it's about the ratio of the drums to the vocal, not the drum sound to the vocal sound. So let's discuss that after it's over on Facebook, and you guys let me know what you think. Today what I'd like to show you in ITL is something that's a little difficult to teach or show or demonstrate, because I'm going to try to show you my process and why I put certain groups of instruments at certain levels. So we're going to break the whole track down into vocals, drums, music, keyboards and guitars, music, high frequency information like cymbals, and then effects. And I'm going to show you by varying the volumes of these different groups what I was trying to accomplish, what you can accomplish different than me. And I think you'll enjoy it. If I don't, I know you'll let me know, so that's a good thing. But if this isn't specific enough, let me know, and then within the drums I can show you, the kick and the snare, how they affect certain things. I think we've kind of gone over that and beat drums to death. But so let's get started. I did this for myself when I was trying to formulate my ideas, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job at it. So let's jump in. Let me play you the song. Here's the song. I'll play a little piece of the verse, then we'll go up through the chorus.
Right to town we roll. Don't tell us to turn it down, 'cause you're too old and we're too proud. It's a crazy feeling, I can't describe it. My heart starts beating, I just can't fight it. Dancing on the rooftop, listening to punk rock, singing, whoa.
Okay, so now let me play you just the drums, piece of the drums. Okay, so it's a combination of some live drums, some samples. Now let's bring in the music. Okay, if you want to cheat, over here on the left, you'll see the original numbers for the volumes at which I mixed the song. So that's about a dB or two lower than where I had it in the mix. It's actually a dB lower, or 1.1 dBs, and it feels good. Now we won't be able to make final decisions until we get everything in. So let's pull it up a little bit and see what happens. That sounds a little more rock. I kind of like that. Let's leave it up. Okay, now let's bring our vocal in. Okay, either the vocal's too low or something's too loud. Let's pull the music down a little bit.
Dancing on the rooftop, listening to punk rock,
Okay, that's better. Let's pull vocal up.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing.
I'm digging that, but I lost the power of the guitars now. The guitars and the vocals don't feel like they're, Oh, hey guys, it's Michael Brower. Oh, he had a good time on the show. Cool. I'll hit him back in a minute. That was for real. That wasn't a Beyonce joke. That was really Michael. So right now I'm feeling like it's close, but there's some balance mismatches. So let's weave it towards what I had for the final mix and see what happens.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock.
I like the ratio of the vocal to the drums. I'm feeling like she's in front of the band, like she's got some power, but my guitars sound almost like a too pop. There's not enough. This girl is 16 years old. She's Australian. She comes from the land of AC/DC. Let's give her some credibility. Let's turn those guitars up and see what happens.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listen.
I like the ratio of the vocal to the drums. Now the guitars feel like they're a little too much. I feel like they're fighting her. You might have to rewind some of these examples. I'm trying to get it. I'm playing it one time. Normally I'd play these things over and over and just kind of feel the vibe, maybe walk just outside the room, see how it felt from another room. But I'm truly giving you impressions real time. These aren't impressions that I'm pre-thought about. This is what I'm really feeling. I think you're feeling it too.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock.
Made me smile, made me move, made me groove. Will's over there tapping his foot. I think we're on to something. But like I said, the only real way to know if you're doing good is if you can measure it with a stopwatch like a runner, or measure it with a tape measure like a pole vaulter. There's no right or wrong in this. You're gonna have to ultimately trust your own feel. To me, that feels pretty good. Let's add the bass and see what happens. Let's see what we're gonna listen for, see if the kick drum kind of gets soft, see if the top end of the bass is conflicting with too much of the guitar sounds. Let's see what happens there.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock.
Okay, what I noticed is suddenly the song started feeling like it had a little power to it. Like it's funny how those low frequencies just let you know you're not listening to a folk song, you're not listening to a jazz song that was mixed incorrectly with too loud of everything. I don't know, low end is just the most wonderful thing on earth. But as you can tell, I'm a little bit under where I normally was, but that was kind of where I first started feeling it. Let's go a little over and see what happens.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock.
It's kind of weird. That's not bad, is it, guys? But it makes me feel more like I'm listening to a little bit too much of an urban-y R&B thing, even though we're obviously not. But there is an urban element. There's an urban element in everything because of the pervasive wonderfulness of hip-hop. And I mean that for real. Hip-hop just made everything better when it came along. And I like it, but my drums got a little wimpier. So let's pull it back and see if it feels like the drums are jumping back in our face, and see what we get.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop.
That's a little bit higher than when I originally mixed it, but I think I actually like it better. Now, we've got a couple of elements left. We have no effects, and it sounds pretty good. Let's see what the effects as a whole are doing for this.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing.
Got kind of mushy, and I went past it. It got kind of mushy, didn't it? It just seemed like I couldn't, the definition on everything just went away. Let's listen to that again. Gosh, I didn't think that was going to be that noticeable. Let's try that again.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock.
Man, that's kind of neat. I scared myself. I have it like I think 0.3 of a dB lower than I had it, but you know what? That sounds pretty good right there. Now, I don't have any cymbals in. Now with the cymbals, what I'm trying to do is right now the groove feels like don't, 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 don't. And the hook, I want the groove to feel don't, 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 don't. So let's see if we can make the cymbals lift the chorus and give the chorus a little more groove and a little more feel and vibe. And now if too much, we're going to get too much in that the real pretty kind of pop music. And we can't be too pretty with this girl. She's got attitude, and we want our mix to reflect and be a foundation for all that attitude. Just wonderful attitude. By the way, I love this song. So here's the effects. I mean the high end, excuse me. Here's the high end.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, I just can't find it.
Guys, that's where I had it. I'm feeling now like maybe I want to hear it a tiny bit less, but you heard when I went too much, it just kind of washed out. It took up too much space that other things need to occupy, like the top end of her vocal. It started making her vocal feel like it was energyless because it was covering up the parts of her vocal that conveyed her personality and her energy. We did an ITL on that, remember? I'm gonna drop it back a half a dB and see if I like it better.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk rock. Singing, whoa. I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, dancing on the rooftop. Listening to punk rock, listening to punk.
I dropped the effects and the high end back a little bit, and today I like that. Tomorrow I might put it back where I had it. Now, you've heard me say a few times, all we sell is hooks and grooves. So let's mute the vocal and make sure we got the groove right. That feels pretty good. Like more bass, I'd cover up the kick. If the drums came down, we'd lose some power. Let me show you what happens if I do those two things. Watch me and you'll see me pull the bass up. Okay, you notice when I pull the bass up, the drums got smaller. When I pull the drums down, it wasn't an aggressive mix anymore. It was Gosh, I don't know. It kind of went jazzy, didn't it, Will? Okay, now let's check our vocal again.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, listening to punk rock, singing. Whoa, I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop.
Okay, at that volume, it feels like a classic pop mix. There's a disconnect between her and the track. My ear is drawn too much to her and not enough to the groove. Let's go a little bit under now.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, listening to punk rock, singing. Whoa, I just can't find it.
It feels like she's not a good singer. It feels like the band is overpowering her. It makes her feel little and tiny at that lower volume.
I just can't find it. Dancing on the rooftop, listening to punk rock, singing. Whoa, I just.
Man, whoever put those levels and mixed that at those levels knew what he was doing. That's pretty good. I hope you got something out of it. As always, let me know, good and bad. All right, see you next week. Hey guys, I hope you got something out of that. Hey listen, I want to remind you guys of something. There's two things you can take to the bank on Pensado's Place. One, our sponsors are things we use and products we love. You'll never hear anything talked about on the show sponsor-wise that doesn't meet that criterion. And every guest is someone I wish I could mix like them or produce like them, and they're just my favorites in the genre. And today is no exception. In fact, we have Jay Baumgardner with us today, and I love his work. So we're going to figure out why I like it, and you guys are going to learn a bunch of stuff. Jay, welcome. Thank you for coming to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Herb.
Great,
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Yeah. So we're going to break down and talk about a Papa Roach song and Alien Ant Farm. And Jay did the cool Evanescence album, the one that did 17 million copies.
Not too bad.
And then you remember him from Godsmack, P.O.D, Sevendust, another record I love, Hoobastank, and Korn. So, and then millions more. Google him, like I always tell you. Google our guests, you'll learn a lot more. I want to start out just giving a shout out to Marlene Smith. She did an interview with you on hitquarters.com, like the coin, hit quarters. Great interview. So if you hear some things that kind of remind you of that interview, the reason is I really like that interview.
Okay, great.
So let's start this whole circus off with a quote from that particular interview. You said that the key elements for producing are patience, stupidity, tenaciousness, persistence, and a word I can never pronounce, naivete. Expand on that. Particularly, when I wrote stupidity down, I spelled it wrong, so that must tell you something about that I could be a good producer. I got the stupidity part down really good. Expand on that, because you were very serious, and I think I know what you meant, and I think that's a great foundation on which to build this entire interview on.
It's a crazy sort of profession to do, and this working with musicians and trying to get the best out of them, and trying to the whole thing is taking them to another level that they never thought they could be. They never thought they could be this good, and so it's this kind of a stupid thing. I don't know. I just made that up. It's kind of stupid.
So you're kind of like the Tony Robbins of producers.
It really is. It really is Tony
Without the
Robbins.
teeth. That profession, I think you said it's not like working with doctors, you're working with musicians, and that profession is equal parts psychology, equal parts musician, equal parts fan, listener, equal parts arranger.
Right.
It's an impossible position, and then you toss. That's if you can work with one person. It's impossible, and then each time you add another band member, it's just locked. And then toss in labels and managers.
Usually, there's always one guy in the band that's always the guy that's going to be the kind of problem guy, the guy you have to massage and make him happy. And the other guys are usually like cool with anything, but then there's one guy that's always that guy.
Just to give you an example, I don't want to name names, but in the Stones, that would be Keith Richards. I mean, not Keith Richards, but Mick Jagger. In the Beatles, it was two people, which made it almost impossible to work with that group. Back to Ken Scott's book, but can you take me through? Like, pick a song of your choice. Could you take me, like let's say you're describing what you do for a living to a complete neophyte. Describe the process of a production. You start off with a meeting with the band, and then you go into like what, rehearsals?
Yeah, yes, you go into rehearsals. That would be the best thing to do. And the more you can get done in that process, the better. It's
Do you pick the songs prior to rehearsal that you're going to work on?
No, usually kind of during. Usually I have them play everything and listen to them, and I usually jump right in and then start working on, really specific details. Like kick drum
in rehearsal.
Yeah, like kick drum patterns and arrangements. Like, let's take this chorus out and let's change this bridge into a chorus and make the chorus the bridge and a lot of arrangement, a lot of drum arrangement things, and I usually just kind of jump right in and get right on that.
When you're doing that, does the function of how they're playing those songs then change, and they kind of have to relearn them?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
they do it that way?
Yeah, they have to relearn them, and
yeah.
So the quicker they are at that process, the easier it gets. And those people are pretty. Sometimes you have little arguments, but it's that's if you do that before the actual recording, then there's less arguments during the recording. It's a smoother process.
Yeah.
Guys, let's say you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't ever get to produce bands. Maybe I should just run over and watch one of the other top 10 programs on YouTube, like The View. Well, no, you need to stick around. Like, let's say you're Alex Neat and you're listening to Jay talk. Well, Alex does everything himself, but he produces, and he's producing himself. So you have to detach emotionally from what you're doing and become this person that Jay is for this group. Jay, how much freedom do you give the group at that moment to come up with a brand new song? Do they have to come to you at that moment with all of them written? Do you have any?
No,
there's no set formula?
No, there's no set formula. I mean, you want something great. You want a hit. You want something great. You want something to emotionally move you. So whatever it takes to get to that point, I don't care. If it's, we just came up with this and it's like, great, work on that. Or this isn't, a lot of times it's like an old song. This is like an old song that we haven't done in 5 years. Like, well, let's hear that, It's weeding through and throwing out the bad stuff and getting all the great stuff.
So trust is a big function then of what has to happen between you and that actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If they don't trust you, if they don't feel that you're the right guy, it's going to be difficult.
Do you establish that before you have the rehearsal process? If it's a new act, there's got to be a period of you getting to know each other.
I mean, once you're an established guy, it was a lot harder when I was
coming up,
sort of unknown.
Yeah.
Because then everyone's sort of second guessing every decision you make. So it gets easier as time goes on.
Jay, let's continue this thread of thought. And now let's switch to a specific group. Right now, we're at the process where we've gone through some rehearsals. Let's talk about the Evanescence record. Did you track that, or you just mixed it?
No, I just mixed it.
Okay, well, let's pick another record. Let's pick Papa Roach.
Right.
Like a song like Infest.
Right.
So now we've kind of straightened out some of the arrangements. That's a self-contained band, so you don't need to bring in any outside players. Now you move this whole circus into a studio like NRG, which is one of the finest studios in the world.
Thank you.
Simultaneously owned by our guest today.
Absolutely.
Thanks
and
for the plug.
I have worked.
We have worked there.
We have worked there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that was a long time ago. That was 2000. So that was 12 years ago.
That song is that old, and it sounds. We're going to talk about that song because it sounds fresh today, and I want to know why.
Last resort, yeah. So that was 12 years ago. I mean, but I do it very similar today. Really, not much has changed. Is we go in and we track the whole thing live.
You start with bass and drums, or bass, drums, guitar?
We start with everybody. We set up the whole thing.
So you'll do a scratch vocal?
Yeah, scratch vocal, everything. Record the whole thing live, and then go back and start replacing. The parts, I always do the guitar, I do the drums, then I do the guitars, then the bass. I always do the bass after the guitars.
We're talking about the replacement part?
Yeah,
Or
the replacement. Yeah.
How often do you keep the original bed or the original tracks that you cut, the foundation? You
Not too often. I always keep them.
You always keep the drums. The drums make the record.
Yeah. But with Pro Tools, you keep everything,
Yeah.
So.
Well, so then the bass never makes the record, or seldom makes the record?
Seldom, yeah.
And what is it that causes that decision? What prompts the decision to punt it?
We usually this can make it better.
Oh, okay.
And
by better, you mean usually timing-wise or feel or?
Yeah, the timing, the feel, usually, guys, especially new guys, have, a hard time playing in the studio for the first time on headphones.
Oh, I got you.
They're ahead and, they're rushing.
Is it ever a decision based on isolation? In other words, too much drums in the bass mic?
No.
At NRG, that would never be a problem.
It's usually, you want to get a really great performance, and even though, the idea is if someone hears it, you want them to think that it's live, but it really isn't.
Emotionally feel live.
Yeah, so you're kind of faking the live performance usually. That's, so you want to get people to play, in a really great groove, and sometimes that takes a little work.
Yeah.
And in terms of, let's split that process of getting them to play and feel and have a great groove. Let's split it into two sections: environmental and psychological. In terms of the environment, what do you try to accomplish? Like you try to have a lot of people there and give them have girlfriends and strippers and whatever there, or how do you?
That's happened. I can't deny it. Yeah, I'm not like an isolation. Some people really want to be isolated, and it's up to the artist. Usually a lot of times vocalists don't want anyone around.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's their thing, and I totally respect it. So I leave it up to them. I don't care either way. I can work with 50 people or nobody.
Well,
I get in the zone, and it doesn't matter.
You're a keyboard player, and I'm a guitar player. Is it a general rule guitar players like to have very attractive women around, and keyboard players have very low standards and don't really care about sex or quality of looks?
I think that's true.
I'm sorry, I have medical excuses. Okay, now we've gotten to that point. So now, on the overdub process, you've got the drums, they sound like they're in one space. How do you make the overdub process assimilate into that vision? Because the drums are setting the tone for the vision. So for example, if the guitar doesn't have the right ambient quality to it, it's going to sound weird. Or is that a technique you can use to make it more up front?
Yeah, part of the trick is, I usually work at NRG at my own place, so we're always recording in the same room using the same board. So even if we move things around and we overdub, it's still in the same spot. It's still going through the same board as the drums.
But you listen for that quality, right?
Sort of. You don't want anything to be odd. Unless you want it to be odd,
Right.
But it usually works out that way, and it's more about, it's more just about timing and getting guitars in tune and everything that if it's just a purely live take, it's really hard to get guitars in tune and things. Just on a technical level, sometimes it takes a minute to get everything perfected, so.
If ever. Sometimes some of my favorite older records, they never quite got it perfected, and the charm is in the warts.
Yeah, it's a different, it's sort of a different time. It's a different genre. People expect things to be a little bit more precise, I think, than they used to.
This segment is not batter's box, but I'm gonna try and throw you a curveball anyway. Sure. A lot of our audience never has the luxury and coolness factor of recording a whole band. This one guy in a room alone.
Yeah.
How can we talk specifically for just 1 second to that guy in terms of inspiring himself, in terms of adding to the overdubs, even though it's not one bass player, one guitar player? Is there something? Because I know you do hip hop also.
I have.
You have a very wide range of abilities. And so you should. We shouldn't be recognized for only one thing. But is there a piece of advice you can give someone based on your experience of how to work alone? Because I know you work alone sometimes.
Boy, just, don't quit until you think it's genius, Don't,
Should there
don't
be a
give
gap
up.
between overdubs if you're by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, come back to it. A lot of times I'll do a mix and it sucks, and I'll come back to it in a couple days, and I'll get an idea in the middle of the night. I'll wake up and that's what I should have done. So
Maybe I'm-
don't
maybe
put
I'm-
limits on yourself and just keep going and.
So like, there's never an opportunity when you're doing keyboard parts, you would wear a little skinny tie with little keyboards, and then as you come back as a guitar player, you wear like cut off shorts.
I've never had a key tie.
Okay, we beat that horse to death.
I don't really play keys on any of my
You never have?
on any of my records
You
that
never
I've
have?
done. I mean, no, not really, because there were so many people that are better at it than me, and I always wanted to concentrate on being the producer or not.
Yeah. You know what? That brings up a point. When the guy in a room by himself, that's the majority of our audience. I have so much respect for those guys, because whenever I try and record my own guitar parts for anything, all my best parts end up on the erase head. I just can't edit myself like I can if I hear somebody else. I can objectively. Have you noticed?
Yeah, of course. I'm totally too self-conscious.
How do guys do that?
I don't have any idea.
Like we've got a cat sitting out there watching the show, Alex Neat. He's won several of our contests, and we should ask him at some point. But I'm amazed by that, because I'm better when I tell other people what to do.
I think it's like anything else. It's just practice. If you do it enough times, that you'll be comfortable and you won't over edit yourself, or
I guess so.
it's mind over matter.
Plus, I think you just have to have a different type of ego than we have on the mix world.
Yeah.
We mix out of total abject fear that we might be rejected, don't we?
Well, you can't. I mean, the thing that I've learned about mixing is, it's not really about your ego. It's about making everyone involved happy.
Yeah.
And you got to listen to all the little details they want changed and this and that, and you just got to do it. It's easier to do it than to argue.
And people don't understand. There's a number of masters that you're trying to satisfy. They can get up to pockets of 8 or 10 people between a band, lawyers, managers,
and now with
A&R
email,
people, labels.
you get
It's just coming
yeah,
at
you get 10 different emails with different comments on every song, and you have to go like, okay.
Absolutely.
But but you have to do it. If you start arguing with everybody, and it's not going to go. It's not going to be good.
Jay, before we get into, I want to talk a little specifically about some of the elements in Smooth Criminal and in Infest. But before we do that, it's kind of an extension of your last train of thought. You've got some very unique and very powerful and important concepts of self-promotion that in a way what we're talking about is self-promotion. You have to convince everybody that you know what you're doing. But expand a little bit for our audience about, it's not always about your Facebook presence. It's not always about the amount of tweets you put out. But if you want to get started as a producer, explain a little bit about that concept.
Well,
you're really good at it, and you do it in such a non-egotistical way.
I don't know if this is really self-promotion per se, but if you want to get started as a producer, the easiest way is to find the best musical talent you can and attach yourself, if at all possible, and because that's really what it's about, attach yourself to a star. Find somebody who you think is going to be super successful, and attach yourself, and they will bring you, with them.
So do you offer to do free mixes, or you just
Sure,
critique their
yeah.
live shows and gain confidence, or?
Sure, yeah. And I mean, if you, this started, years and years ago, where I would, go to clubs and see a band and go, wow, these guys are great. You should come in the studio, and we'll, that's sort of how my career started.
Did you have your own studio at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I started off in a, NRG kind of started in a garage, and it just got bigger and bigger.
That's what the G stands for?
No, NRG is like, the NRG came from like the 80s when, like U2 and NXS and all these bands had these sort of, alliteration or whatever in the names. And so there was a girl and she said, "Oh, how about NRG or something? If I had a band, I'd call it NRG. It was supposed to be like NXS."
Well, there was a
and I thought,
group-
"Oh, that's great. I'll
there was
steal that." And
Was it NRB was the group from back then? There was a group back then, Herb. You remember what it was?
Yeah, NRBQ or something.
NRBQ, that's
yeah,
what it was.
yeah.
but it's not an acronym. It's like energy. You know,
energy.
It's like
It's the word energy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Or it could stand for no garage recording.
It's kind of
that
silly,
would be
but it's
NGR.
stuck. So
That's true.
Yeah. We'll
No recording in a garage.
I started in a garage. So
Herb, help me here. Did we beat the self-promotion thing? Did we get that
No.
fleshed out pretty good?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he's expanding on it, and essentially, you're saying we spent some time last night talking about how students could get observed for jobs.
yeah, well,
and
you just got to meet people. You know,
yeah,
it's just
networking and
it's
attach
just,
to
it's
the right
just
stuff.
networking and meeting people, and if you find great musicians, people are going to be attracted to that. And if you attach yourself somehow, you know, even if you're just friends or whatever with great musicians, then it rubs off.
When you say attached, sometimes I get negative connotations from that. What you really mean is you fall in love with a band so much that you would skip dates, Friday nights, your prom, anything to work with them and become a part of their process, have them become dependent on you. That's what you mean by attached.
Yeah, you know, you're like, you guys are great, you know, and you like call some people and get them into a studio and, you know, bring them in at midnight, you know, and record some songs or you know, whatever. It's whatever it takes.
Hey, Drew, if we get a question that kind of takes some of these things a little farther, kind of make a note of that. But I'm going to go to another subject right now.
There is.
On Papa Roach, Infest, I love that mix. I love
Last
that
Resort.
mix. I love that mix. And one of the things of many that I like about that mix is the fact that the vocals, the guitars, and the drums are in my face,
Right.
but they're still wide. In other words, a lot of records, like some of the heavy metal records that I like, they create a big spot in the middle by panning the guitars so damn wide that they can set things there. You did the opposite. You have more information in the middle than technically you maybe should, but yet it still sounds wide. It sounds in my face. I don't know how to describe it. You guys listen to that. And
Well, it's funny because the
the
guitars
coolest
on that
thing
are
ever.
pan hard left and right.
They are pan.
Yeah, they're hard left and right, and I think part of that is they're really tight. The performance is really tight.
Okay.
You know, the groove is really, you know, tight. You know, so you know we spent a lot of time getting it, you know, doubled and getting it, you know, really good. So that's what gives it the both things at the same time. When it's sloppy and loose and out of tune, it'll sound wider, but it won't have center where you get it sort of in tune and in
gotcha.
time. It pulls it a little more towards the center.
The ambience I'm hearing, was that all on the, let's say the drums, is that all room or did you add something to it? Because it's the kick and snare is so in your
there's
face.
actually a little sample and on the snare maybe and some reverb.
You don't remember what reverb?
I don't know what I had back then.
Probably a 480 is what it sounds like, or it sounds a little bit like a PCM 70 on
It might
tight
have been.
room.
I had a Sony reverb back then. One of those Sony
R7?
sampling reverb things.
Oh yeah, the one in the wooden box.
Yeah. It could have been that. I don't know if I got that before or after.
I can't remember what those are called. Those are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I should find one. Okay, now, and there again, so now you've got these guitars, you've got the drums, and that alone would make a record I'd buy. Because I just can't get over how you got such a tight mono in the middle, but yet it's still wide. I mean, anybody can get a tight mono by just hitting the mono button, but you did both. So anyway, beat that horse. So if I say beat that horse again, I don't know why I'm saying that so many times today.
I just think it's because it's a really tightly played track.
Okay, and now the vocals. Are there effects on the vocals? The vocal, it feels like I'm standing right here and I can look down his throat.
There's a little delay probably, and at that time I had like an AMS 1580 probably, like left and right sort of
With a tiny
pitch.
bit of pitch.
Yeah.
No reverb or anything?
No, I never use reverb on vocals.
Never?
No.
If I was to pay, like if I was the band and I said give you an extra $1 million, would you use reverb?
No, I'm just turning the delay up and tell you that it was reverb.
Okay, now on Smooth Criminal, which to my ears, and I have old ears, you know why I said that, don't you? He said mixing requires old ears. I don't know what the hell that means. What does that mean?
This means experience, I think.
Oh, experience.
Whether
Experience.
well, whether you have experience as a musician or experience mixing, it's hard just to jump into it without any experience at all and think you're going to get a great mix.
When I was a kid, my ears did this, and people said I looked like a taxi cab with the doors open. I think that helps me now. So on Smooth Criminal, you did the same thing. The sounds are in your face, but yet it sounds like an entirely different person did the two mixes. Like on the Papa Roach song, it's an older song, but it sounds modern. Smooth Criminal has a little bit of a let's say classic kind of vibe, but it sounds modern. I love the snare sound on that song, by the way.
It's funny because it's the same studio, pretty much the same gear, the same guitar, the
They
same
sound
guitar amp,
completely different.
and well, it's a different band.
Are you
it's
just
different.
being modest? I mean,
No.
because that's a lot of skill required to do that.
No, not really. There's a lot of skill in both those bands. I mean, they're both great. They're both great artists, and those are great songs. So,
How's your elbow? Did you put the salve on this weekend?
I did. I got one little tiny snare
You have to do
question.
it very fast. Very good. Now time for battle.
The snare on that song, when I first heard that song, the snare started irritating me.
right.
And then by 3 minutes in, it became a hook. I fell in love with the song for the snare. Did you intentionally try to get a little piccolo police sounding snare in there?
I think that was the drummer's vibe, and he loved it, and it wasn't. I didn't hate it, so it worked.
Just lie and take credit for all this stuff.
Let's tee up batter's box
I'm
there,
ready.
Mr. Pensado. You got your bat ready, and
right.
you've got your arm ready.
Okay.
And,
Jay has agreed to try something a little different today. We're gonna instead of doing something specific, we're gonna make this about production techniques and a tool or technique that he uses to solve a production problem in these areas. Rhythm guitars.
Rhythm guitars, great guitar player, one. And a Les Paul and a Marshall JCM 800.
Nice.
Plexiglass.
No, this is JCM 800.
Lead guitar. Same thing.
It's always the musician comes first. I mean, I do. That's like 95% of it. What mics and use and mic preamp. I mean, guitars. I just use 57s usually, and just keep it simple and try to get great musicians and great performances.
Okay, so on vocals, what tools or techniques would you use to solve a common problem for vocals?
I mean, you have to try different mics on a vocalist because everyone's voice is different.
Yeah.
So, you pretty much pull out, 4 or 5 mics, everything you use, and you listen to them and have them sing. And, some are have too much low end, and some are too bright and sibilant, and you got to get the right thing.
Cymbals.
Cymbals. I try to put the mics on the cymbals and not mic the drums. A lot of guys I see the mics are pointing at the drums and not really at the cymbals. And I use a Shups 222.
Oh, cool.
So
Kick drums.
kick drums, you got to have a really good kick drum. Kind of doesn't matter the size, or I've used 24s and 22s and
Front head off.
You
front
name
head
it.
off.
Usually on with a hole in it, and
Snares.
57, top and bottom. I've got one that's at a right angle. That's great. That's my favorite little thing.
Don't take points off for this, Herb, but I'm going to coach him. Okay. How do you keep the hi-hat out of the snare mic? The way you point it?
Yeah, the way you point it. You point it at, most people, I come in and you see people and they're, this is the snare, they're like like this, and if you point it like this actually at the drum, you have less bleed because there's more rejection.
You get Porcaro to play it. I've never heard like that. Okay, bass guitar.
Bass guitar, you need I use a 59 P bass.
Oh, cool.
That's 99% of it.
Okay, when problems arise, what's your tip or technique for politics, the politics of the band?
Wow, that's a tough one. You know,
There's no one answer.
there's no one answer to that. I mean, you gotta rally people to your side, and there's, like I said, there's always one guy, and that you have to convince. And producing is completely different with mixing. Mixing sort of making everybody happy, and producing is doing the best thing for the song. You know, so that requires a lot of compromise on everyone's part. So,
Okay.
except for the producers.
Two more. Dealing with problems in the mix, like they love the rough mix, or the label wants one thing and the band wants to do another. How do you solve those problems?
Yeah, you know.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, that's a hard one, you know. I mean, that's just something you have to work through, and it, you know, it gets easier as time goes on. When your mixes get better, you have less complaints, and you have less, you know.
Okay, last question. Throughout this, you've talked about the quality of musicians being important. When you have less than stellar abilities from your musicians, how do you deal with that? Bring in studio players?
No, Pro Tools.
Good one.
Edit. You know, I mean, there's a lot of tracks on the radio right now where the people that are playing them aren't stellar musicians. They're just, you know, editing the hell out of them. You know, I mean, and you can do that now. I mean, the problem is then you go out and if it becomes a live thing in front of a live audience, then you have to reproduce that. That's a whole other situation, but
Just play loud as hell and
you
have
know,
video in the background.
if you can, yeah, if you suck, just edit.
What's the quote? Wait till you don't suck to bring a record to me. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
If you, I can find it. Hold on. If you suck, don't send anything to me. Wait until you don't suck, then send it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Let's take that. Which, by the way, well done. You know, they're mailing out ballots in 2 weeks. He's definitely getting one, don't you think? For all-star ballots.
All-star ballot
Well
for
done.
batter's box. Well done.
Let's
Well
take
done.
this
That was
one.
the hard one too.
No. He absolutely did really well.
Oh, thank
really
you,
well.
thank you.
So, look, watch your mail. The all-star ballots are coming shortly.
Okay, all right.
Let's take this moment to introduce our man in the corner office, Drew Adams.
Drew.
Hello, Drew.
What's going on?
I don't know what's going on. What's going on is you got a few
Is that a
questions.
Brad Blackwood T-shirt you got on?
I don't know. I'm just a sponsor whore. I don't know.
What do you say?
You got a few questions for us?
I do.
Let's
Actually,
tee up a couple.
Expanding on the networking thing that you guys were talking about earlier, from Ryan Cornell. Question for all. With the recent changes in the record industry, I've noticed a lot of mixers/engineers seem to be starting record labels, NRG artists. Should we be establishing a stable of good bands that that can really showcase our taste and feel as a mixer? Do you feel this is the future of the industry?
Wow, incredible question.
Yeah.
Good job, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I have NRG artists. I've had labels before. I had one with Sony for a minute, and you know, different relationships with with different labels over the years. And now it's very much, you know, sort of DIY, and you know, we created NRG artists. It's our own little in-house thing, and you know, we have one artist right now, a band from Brazil called Cruz. And they're really amazing. They're playing Friday night at the Viper Room.
Oh,
If
cool.
everyone wants to come out.
Very cool.
And you know, it gives us the ability. They're going out on tour this summer with a band that I did their album this January called Otherwise, and they're doing real well, rock band. So they're taking my band out on tour, and you know, there's sort of a synergy now between things. Between, you know, sort of artists that you find and work with and the artists that come in, and you know, if they could take your artist on the road or whatever. So that's a whole other networking, and that brings in more, you know, more people, the more interactive, you know, people I never thought I would be talking to in my career that are promoting concerts and promoting tours, and you know, now I'm talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, I was talking about you to another guy, and so
Yep.
you know, those things sort of happen. So
You know what, Ryan, go back and re-listen to the parts about promoting and self-promoting and how you attach yourself to bands and connect those two things together. Use that along with your question about, you know, getting your own bands and kind of connect those together, and you know, you'll be real far ahead of the game. What you got, Drew?
Cool. I got another one from Chris Gilly. Are there any specific pitfalls that you see here amateur mixers consistently make that drastically hurt their final product? If so, what can you do to remedy the situation?
Yes. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what people are doing wrong, but you hear it and you're like, oh, that could have been better. You know, we were talking in this question. We were talking about bandwidth control, how digital is this super ultra wide bandwidth, and what you need to do is sort of take that bandwidth down. You know, that every instrument doesn't have to take up the space of, you know, everything. That there's, you know, sort of instruments that are the low end and instruments that are the high end. So, you know, if you know, I do a lot of sort of filtering. You know, I get rid of a lot of frequencies that aren't needed. You know, I mean, you know.
I can hear that.
Yeah. If something's, you know, like the low end on guitars, you know, you don't really, that can fight with the bass, and so you need to filter off a lot of low end on guitars, and you know, your you know, some of the drums, you know, your cymbals and room and everything. So.
Can I take a shot at that real quick, Chris? The thing that I hear that I think a lot of people could improve on is don't mix the sounds, mix the energy, the feel, and the emotion. The sounds are what you use to get the feel and energy and emotion to have someone hear that and react and want to own it. So don't focus on the minutia. Don't focus on all the things we talk about on Pensado's Place. Focus on the energy, the emotion, and the feeling, like we talked about in the ITL.
One more, Drew.
Cool. From Chris Midnight Realm for Jay. When you worked with Ugly Kid Joe during a pretty big grunge era for tracks like So Damn Cool and Everything About You, how did you get the guitars to sound so pristine and clean yet maintain the whole grunge ethic?
Great question.
That was a long time ago. I don't. That record was recorded in my house.
Are you serious?
In a little studio that was in the place where I lived, and my bedroom was right next to the control room, and the bass player in my band became the bass player in Ugly Kid Joe, and because my band broke up like, you know, 2 weeks before, and the manager called me and said, "Oh, I need a bass player for Ugly Kid Joe."
You were always recording and never going to rehearsals.
I know. The bass player said, "I need a bass player for Ugly Kid Joe," and I said, "Well, my band just broke up. You can have my bass player." So he ended up in Ugly Kid Joe. So.
So what the guitars were recorded in a bedroom, bathroom?
Well, it was sort of a purpose-built studio in the like the living room. I didn't build it. My friend Mark Edel, he was actually the first assistant at Ocean Way. He told me about this. Loves your show, by the way. He watches it all the time.
Oh, thank you.
Shout out to Mark. So
Mark.
he told me about this studio in North Hollywood that the guy had built in his house, and it was just kind of been sitting there for a few years. And he said, you know, you could rent this and put a studio in, and you know, and it was in a little house, and the guy had made a studio in the living room and kind of converted one of the bedrooms into a recording room, and it was very small. And,
Wow.
Very cool.
yeah.
Time flies. It's going quick, huh?
Yeah.
You have a good time?
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Jay. Pleasure.
Jay, thanks, man.
Sure.
Listen, at some point in time, can we come out and shoot some stuff at Energy?
It would be great. I was gonna, love to have you come there, and we could do the whole interview.
Okay.
And,
Hey, Herb.
We'll do some stuff.
That's what it is. He's holding information. It stands for ENERGY. Because when you said it that way, I thought you said come out to Energy.
Well, see, the only
Instead
thing
of
of it is
NRG, energy.
you're the only person who got that. All the rest of the world has figured that out.
Yeah, but we have common Southern roots. There must be something going on there.
There we go. We connected.
You're from Southern Canada, and I'm from South Florida.
There we go. Loved having you, man.
Thank you.
again for coming.
Jay, thanks for putting up with our silliness, man.
Awesome,
I tell you
awesome.
what.
Thank you.
And once again, I love your records. I love the two records I mentioned in particular. I love all your records. Every one of them has a unique vibe and quality that just so thoroughly captures. I feel like I could hang out with a band that I've never met by listening to one of your records and kind of know everybody already before.
Awesome. That's what we're going for.
Quick note before you say goodbye. As a testament to you guys out there, you've given us this incredible platform, and we're going to keep trying to give you value for that. We're blessed that we get all this information from you guys, and a lot of people really love the show and like us, so we get that validation.
I know where you're going with this. I got to get my tissue out.
We got an email from a former guest who remained nameless, but he watched one of our shows from a year ago with Maureen Droney from Grammys, and he's a member of NARIS and heard about Musicares. Turns out he has a rare eye disease, got in touch with Musicares. They're working out paying for a significant amount for his operation. The website for the Grammys is, for Musicares in particular, is grammy.org/Musicares. So the ability to have this platform work for one of our guests and maybe work for you guys and have something life-changing is just incredible.
Without this, he would have been blind in a matter of months.
Incredible. So that's a testament to your power. We're happy to be able to do it. Maureen Droney, thumbs up. Grammys, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Say goodbye. Let's get out of here.
Okay, guys. Man, I just wish I had more time to talk about a lot of these details, but as always, this is the part of the show where we say
goodbye.
Can you come back again another time, Jay?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, as soon as my light comes back on, I'll finish this. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope you got something from the show. I know, as always, I did, and we'll see you next week.